Let me give you a little bit of a history behind our program. On November 17, 2015, the county adopted the Los Angeles County Minimum Wage Ordinance, establishing a new minimum wage program uh, for the county. The applicability of the law is in the unincorporated areas of the county. The law became effective on July 1st, 2016 for larger businesses and subsequently a year after for smaller businesses. The county provides services to both employers and workers as well. Employers in the sense of education and information as to the requirements. And I think that's a very important aspect in ensuring that wage theft doesn't occur. In fact, to date, we have reached over 2,000 businesses in the unincorporated areas in an effort to educate the businesses regarding the county's minimum wage ordinance. We also contracted with community-based organizations, which consisted of a dozen nonprofit organizations in different sectors to ensure that workers in different ethnic communities that were subject to wage theft have resources available to them. Our staff is authorized to investigate and take appropriate action against employers, which are some of the tools that the ordinance provides who violate the county's minimum wage ordinance. This includes issuing citations, going through the due process to afford people voice to go through a due process. And I'd like to note that our ordinance carries hefty fines. It can range from up to $100 per day per violation to up to $1,000 per day per violation, depending on the sort of violations. If it's more egregious, like retaliation, and we've seen that, it's up to $1,000. We have authority to engage in settlements, and I'm happy to say that we reached over 1,500 employees for whom we've received back wages, and we have garnered over 1.3 million in back wages to those over 1,500 employees, along with fines as well, collectively. We do not negotiate back wages. Although we do engage in settlements, we do not negotiate back wages because we know that based on records, based on our efforts, that this is the back wages that are owed to the workers. There's no negotiation in that. We do engage in settlement for the fines, depending on the violations and the tools afforded to us in our ordinance. Additionally, on September 13, 2016, we contracted with the city of Santa Monica to enforce Santa Monica's minimum wage ordinance, which carries similar provisions to the county, with the exception that they have paid sick leave provisions, hotel living wage provisions, and surcharges, amongst others. The enforcement process, as I mentioned, is similar to that of the county. However, the city's ordinance subjects employers to criminal liability if they violate any of the provisions set forth in that ordinance. Another major difference between the county and the city of Santa Monica is that the county is authorized to conduct directed investigations, meaning we do not need a complaint in order for us to investigate a business. And I think it's worthy to note that a lot of times employees are afraid, workers are afraid to come forward. And therefore, we're happy to take a tip from a third party or any interested party from the public. We're happy to accept complaints anonymously from workers, as we do understand the vulnerability. We do understand that speaking in front of an employer or speaking about an employer could subject them to retaliation or some kind of an adverse action. I think our ordinance is a great tool for that. If the worker is subjected to retaliation or an adverse action, we have tools in our ordinance to allow us to remedy that, meaning from a hefty fine to reinstatement of the worker back to their position as they were prior to the retaliation. And in fact, in Santa Monica, there was a case that was prosecuted because when the worker came forward to discuss the problems that exist in the workplace, the worker was fired. We were able to get remedies, monetary remedies, and to get reinstatement for the worker. I think it's important that people come to us and let us know that these problems exist, because this is very burdensome. We've seen situations where workers work in subpar situations and situations that are not per regulation, and when speaking up, they get retaliated against. I do want to mention that we have stay-at-home orders, and there's a pandemic, but that doesn't stop our work. Please report any wage theft violation, and we will go out there and we will investigate. We successfully virtually investigated a case recently against a large chain restaurant. The employee communicated the discrepancy in the pay she was receiving to the employer without success, so she reached out to us, and we were able to conduct a virtual inspection of the workplace. I think it's also of note that when a complainant comes forward and files a complaint, we don't just investigate that complaint, we investigate the entire business. The reason being is that when a problem exists with one employee, the problem will exist for others as well. And sometimes others don't want to come forward. So we'll conduct an entire audit of the workplace to ensure that every single person who's being subjected to wage theft receives fair pay, receives the pay that they need to receive based on law. That being said, complaints or inquiries could be filed on our website at www.dcba.lacounty.gov. We do accept complaints in person. However, due to the pandemic, that in-person portion is currently not available, but we do also accept complaints over the phone at 1-800-593-8222. Again, that number is 1-800-593-8222. It's very important, even if you're a patron at a restaurant or any other business and you see that there is no required posting, or that somebody communicates with you that they're not being paid the proper minimum wage, please contact us. We are also, we have this policy of we don't turn a blind eye on anything. Although our jurisdiction extends to what our ordinance requires, we do have partnerships with the state and federal agencies that deal with this type of work. And we work with them on a continuous basis to ensure that not only the payment of minimum wage is remedied, but also other issues that may exist, such as overtime or meal and rest break violations or split shift differentials. So again, please feel free to contact us should there be any issues in your workplace, and we will investigate the entire workplace.